Welcome to Pittsburgh Sports Line. February 24th. I don't know how many shows we did, but it's like a new show today. We got John the Tiger on camera. He just told us we were on. And we're happy about that. Hey, I left the house today, saw Facebook, 4,361 likes. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. We're getting them from all over the country, so thanks again and locally. Appreciate that. You're watching us either on Verizon 32 in Bethel Park or Comcast 7 in Bethel, and it's all over the tri-state area, basically, that you can watch Pittsburgh area, suburbs, and everything on Verizon 32. We had a great show last night, and we were telling people about it, so this is the station. Hopefully you're tuning in. For all of my friends and our fans and stuff for watching us tonight, we appreciate that. Don't change that dial. We got a lot of sports to talk about. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner. We got Smoking Jim Frazier. And we got Zach Brenner back from assignment at Daytona 500. He's all tanned up, got that redneck look. If you look back there, Smoking Jim.
Got that farmer's tan, huh?
Yeah. Pull one sleeve up, Zach, while they're getting a close-up. That's all. There we go. Whoa, it's very bright in here. Well, we have a lot of great sports to talk about tonight, and we start out with our favorite question. What's on your mind, Zach Brenner?
Well, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. As always, as per the last couple years, I made my annual trek down to Daytona Beach. But it wouldn't be complete without a stop to Bethune-Cookman College. Mm-hmm. And I stopped in there, and there was nothing but love, much to the dismay of Jim Frazier. I was welcomed with open arms, had all my Pittsburgh Sports Line gear on, had a great party on Friday night, enjoyed myself quite well. I stood out in the crowd, but that's what I often do when I go on the road, is stand out in the crowd. But what's really on my mind...
Yeah, that's what I was waiting
folks,
for. Thank you.
Is, there was some controversy apparently in the Kansas State-Kansas game where students rushed the court during the upset to Kansas University with most of Kansas's staff and players still on the court. And that brings me up to what's on my mind in regard to this, is that it's very unsafe, in my opinion, for the students and fans to rush the court in an upset, especially in college sports, let alone professional sports. And here's why. Because you still have the players from the other team still on the court when this melee is ensuing, and it's going to cause nothing but trouble and could lead. I'm just so thankful and glad that nobody was seriously injured or Kansas players didn't start throwing bows, which they've been known to do over the years. But it's extremely unsafe, and I don't really like when they rush the football field, either in college football and tear down the goalpost. That's extremely unsafe as well. I just think it just could lead to such more fatal consequences. And if Kansas players start throwing down or whatever, there could be suspensions and, Kansas State players. And it's just, if you want to rush the court, here's what I feel like they should at least give the referees, the officials, and the other team and coaches enough time to exit the court. And then if you guys want to rush. And that's what's on my mind.
Thank you, Mr. Safety.
Safety green.
Appreciate it. Safety first, folks.
Always.
You heard it from Brenner. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green,
nice
you
catch.
got to see Levine. And just real quick.
No, take your time.
It's Black History Month, and I take exception to Zach for saying that because I think it's very unfair to single out all those white students that rush the court in the football field. Quit taking stuff away from those guys. But anywho, what's on my mind is, and I touched on it a little bit yesterday, it's the NFL draft has always received high ratings. The NFL draft, back when Joe Green was drafted in 1969, was in February. Yeah. And then it quickly moved into March, and for 30-some years, it was in April, where they had little or no sporting competition, always received high ratings. Well, Roger Goodell, and in the words of Chip 2 O's and not one. He created the 3-day draft where you had on Thursday you have round 1, on Friday you have rounds 2 and 3, and then on Saturday you have rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7, and no longer have Sunday drafts. Now he moved the draft to the first weekend of May, and I think it's going to really cripple the NFL ratings, because that particular weekend, here's what you have. You have the NFL draft, you got the NBA playoffs, you got the NHL playoffs, you got the Yankees and Red Sox, which you'll be watching, Chip. You got the Kentucky Derby, you got Cinco de Mayo,
On the 5th, May
Mayweather.
5th.
but that weekend is Cinco de Mayo celebrations all over the place. And lastly, you got Floyd Money Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. So I look for the NFL. NFL made a bad mistake by moving the draft to the first weekend in May, and that's what's on my mind.
Very informative. Thank you, Smokey. Chip the Prophet Hayner, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan, and good evening, everybody. Couple of things on my mind, and I'm kind of flip-flopping here if I want to go with just one of them or if I want to mention 2 of them, but I figure I can probably squeeze the other one into one part of the segments of later on in the show. So let me begin. And you know, the students down in Kansas and Kansas State that rushed to court, follow the example of the Mountaineers and just burn your couch. No, but what's really on
That's
my
a
mind?
laugh track that's on, folks. Thanks in the control room. Devin Shea's in here with us. That really isn't their laughter. But definitely.
No, but what's really on my mind is, you know, I'm really disturbed and upset, and I really feel that, you know, Adrian Peterson has been picked upon, and I feel very, very badly for him because of his actions. He now feels that he has to maneuver his way out of the Minnesota Vikings contract that he has, because he's a ball player that's under contract, and he feels that the Minnesota Vikings did not treat him fairly by paying him for an entire season's worth of play, where he was suspended by the commissioner for abusing his child. You know, and I find that kind of amusing, as well as the Ray Rice issue, because now here are 2 guys. One of them is the face of domestic abuse. The other one is the face of parental abuse of their children, okay? So now they are trying to make themselves look like the victims. Ray Rice got on a press conference last week or something like that, and is trying to say that he deserves another chance, and maybe he does. But, that no NFL team has made any attempt to sign him. Well, you're running a multi-billion-dollar operation, and, you've got the face of domestic violence on your team. Does your team want that kind of publicity? Well, my answer would be no. And the same thing with Adrian Peterson. The Minnesota Vikings are willing to take him back, but what he wants to do is he wants to maneuver his way to go play where he wants to play. Well, maybe he should just try to minimize the damage, go back, work out the ends of his contract, accept his money, and instead of trying to play the victims here, because they victimized other people, what they ought to do is just lie in the bed that they made and deal with the consequences of their actions. But really, that's what's on my mind. Part A. We'll work on the other one later on.
Whoa, B's coming. Little TV tease. Thanks, Chip.
The build-up. Levine.
That was good.
Well, before I get to what's on my mind is Zach Brenner finished up a great-looking piece. Now, Tiger, I think they're going with that one over there. You don't have to pull in on that. Control room, please take over. Thank you. Hey, getting back to the great pizza we had every week, call 412-831-1900 and talk to Ryan there. He made us a great extra-large pizza. They're our sponsors. We appreciate it. I don't know who's pulling in on that. Here, I'll
Good
hide.
stuff.
Go ahead.
Good stuff.
It was delicious. We enjoy it. And there's so many volunteers that, I don't know, Matt, No Show Harkins is there. Devin Shea. Zach, the new intern, working on Rookie of the Year with Ian Bell. Oh, Ian didn't make it this week. That's okay. John the Tiger Kiger's here, but he has some health issues. He cannot eat pizza, so luckily I get one piece because he can't eat it because these animals here love it. So it's always good there. Hey, Johnny Angel, we need another close-up control room. I know this guy on my right's there going to it, but could somebody there? Johnny Angel's Ginchi store. You got to go there. Whoa, this is confusing our fans. 3623 California Avenue. He has so much memorabilia, so many records. If you like vinyl, and a lot of people are getting back, that's the records, Zach. They're in vinyl, not CDs. He got posters.
What's that?
Well, you'll find out. Go up there. You travel around in all your ventures. Well, Johnny Angel always mentions Pittsburgh Sports Line, and I just wanted to tell you that I'm going to be producing another show with a legend named Johnny Angel. And this is going to be debuting in March. He's going to do a show every week. And I know, Chip, you like a lot of the oldies and music out there. He's going to bring in some guests that you'll recognize their names, plus him alone. Jack Hunt, that's Johnny Angel, is known all over the world. He's done talk shows, TV shows. So we're going to collaborate and do a show here in Bethel Park out of our studio. So I'm honored and proud that he come in the other day and saw our studio, and he's happy to do it. So watch that coming attraction there. Now talking about Duke's Rib House and Grill. The owners, as you've been listening, and if this is your first time, they have an anniversary, March 6th. It's for a whole week. Stay tuned for all their specials. They're just unbelievable, they told me. So that's from the 6th through the 13th. So we'll check that out. Then on a sad note, everybody in Bethel Park knows Joey Strong. So if you could pull in on this. Hey, Devin, since you're in here with us, where should I have this? Towards my camera or the other one? We change it up now? All right. Tiger, pull in on that because we're trying to help this young man in his legacy. He just passed away on January 21st. His birthday was actually on February 22nd. So his parents come out to talk about him. It'll be on our show from last night. You'll have to check that segment out. It's a heart-wrenching story, and just to keep it simple, there's a disease, DIPG. It's actually like a brain tumor that forms in young children at their brain stem, and it's horrific. Nobody survives it. It's 100%, death sentence. So we were happy to have him on our show. And just Google it. You'll find out all the pages they have and the likes, and they're going to have T-shirts coming out. They already sold some. They're working on that. We're the website. You can go and order. It's not ready yet. It's under construction. So check that out and keep Joey in your mind there. And I'd like to give at least 10 seconds and pray for him and their family for everything that they've gone through. So give us about 10 seconds here. Thank you. And that's in honor of Joey, and may he rest in peace. Now I have another flyer that this is near and dear to Smoking Jim's heart because Jody, that slick move guide, we had a guest that founded the Author Zone. So, and what a guest she was. You have to stay tuned for that. We'll talk about a little bit that later. But she's done a lot of things in the Pittsburgh area, Anna Marie Geyer. And if you've written a book, Smoking Jim, they can help you write a book. They have Red Engine Press and other things. And anybody interested, they won a lot of awards. One of our friends and guests, Joanne Forrester, won. Jody Velasquez won. And, stuff like that. So check it out. That'll be in October. And go to their page. If you can like it, you'll find out more. And I know Smoking Jim's been talking about this $1 billion book. Maybe he'll get on the list with a book coming out this year.
I think you should write a book.
Oh, man, I could write 3 or 4 with the lives I've lived.
Hey.
Just with you guys right now, and you didn't bite a finger off of that last piece of pizza because you rolled that up. Okay, thanks. That would be another short story. But thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. Well, that's my promos. Now I better figure out what was on my mind. Well, Chip sort of stole, no, he didn't steal my thunder. We had a little discussion before the show. And I know the one Bush got hurt, Kyle Busch. And I saw a few weeks ago about Kurt Busch, and I ignore a lot of NASCAR. No offense to you guys and my brother-in-law and sister, Hope's Alive in New Jersey. They love the NASCAR. Well, when I heard the story that the domestic violence, right away, I always wonder, are there two sides of the story? Well, there seems like there's three or four. And they went to court, and there is a CBA in NASCAR that you have certain social things you have to go by and something that's the good of the sport and other things. Well, poor Kurt has been depressed and on medicine. Well, he got off all of his medicine. That may be great. Maybe he's eating better and not drinking, but some of it doesn't seem true. He went to court. Long story short, he had talked about his girlfriend was an assassin and everything else, and just because he tried to strangle her or whatever else, it was because she had blood on her clothes and everything. Well, the judge, and I'm no judge, and I don't even know what the truth is in this case, ruled against him. And his lawyer said there's more stuff coming out and they'll do it. Well, my thing is, if you're paying millions to this lawyer, why wouldn't that have all come out now? So now they have to try to appeal it. Well, his appeal got denied.
2 pills got denied.
Well, I was getting to that. I was trying to be dramatic. He didn't have just one denied, he had 2. And then the lawyer is still saying, because now I'm listening to it, because Zach Brenner's on assignment down there, and Bush thought he could race in the race. Well, neither one got there, so who knows what karma does. We could talk about it in a NASCAR segment if you want to, so we'll kick it off with you, since you're all excited to come back from there and you're all tanned up a little. But to me, Pittsburgh Sportsline, we're against domestic violence, all kinds of violence like that. And like we even talked beforehand, you have to err on safety, and maybe you go too far on it, but that's why you have a right of appeal. Do you have a second chance? You should, but we don't know all the facts. Somebody does in this case, and it looks like he lost because the facts were against him. We'll find out, and that's what's on my mind. So thanks for listening. All right, we got one of my favorite segments coming up for all you newbies out there and all you regulars and my friends that keep saying they're watching from high school and everything else. Go KO. And by the way, the Favises were from Keystone Oaks. I actually was in the same class with Dave Favis, Joey's dad. So, and that was way back, dinosaurs were crawling out of the mud. But Smoking Jim Frazier, we have Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. Are you ready?
Yeah, I sure am. And I'm not going to go back real far this time.
No, please. Please. More than 2 weeks.
But, I think it's very important for me to bring this up is I'm actually Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac is surrounding the Sammy Vasquez fight at the Consul Energy Center.
Hold on, when was that fight?
It was Friday night.
Oh, okay.
And I got the assignment on Wednesday, and as you know, I was very surprised to get the email because I work for a predominantly black newspaper, and there wasn't any black fighters, local fighters, fighting. Sammy's a Mexican American. And I go to the press conference on Thursday, Lil Z. Press conference was at the old Y on the hill, not the new Y.
Whose gym is that?
And that's Coach D's gym. And I tell you what, it's so much different now that Sammy's not being managed by Iron Mike Tyson. You go in there, and it was a nice crowd, about maybe 30 people showed up at the press conference. But here's the problem was that you had 10 fighters show up, and 9 spoke no English, and they forgot to bring an interpreter. So I didn't get much notes from the press conference. So
I wonder you didn't post your story up.
So I show up to the fight Friday night, and my name's not on the list to get in. So
neither was ours.
But luckily, there was a beautiful blonde lady that was there, and I guess she trusted me enough to give me a press pass. So I went into the fights, and the fight I really want to talk about is the co-main event, which was the light heavyweight fight. And I think it's some interest to our viewers because you had a guy that defected from Cuba, and his name is Humberto, and his last name is pronounced Savinha, I believe. And this guy had over 400.
Your Spanish is getting better.
Yeah, this guy had over 400 amateur fights.
Wow.
He was built like a Greek god. He's called the Dawn because he kills people. Come in the ring with the slash in your throat. And this guy, his last fight, he knocked out Jeff Left Hook Lacey in the second round.
Wow.
And I mean, this guy is just put together for a 175-pounder. Well, he's fighting a black guy out of Texas named Craig Baker, who looks like a comedian. He's built like thin. He's kind of tall. You know, he was nonchalant, just a laid-back guy. But his record was 15-0 with about 13 knockouts. And I gave him no chance of beating this Cuban. Cuban's ranked third in the world. He comes in and he's decorated from head to toe, man. He comes in with the, slash throat. The brother comes in. I don't even think he had a corner. I think he just came in with his own bucket and his own ice. The first round, the Cuban nails him, almost had him out on his feet.
Wow.
And I says, oh, man, this is over. The crowd's on their feet. Everybody in the world that's affiliated with boxing was pulling for the Cuban because they can make some money off of him. But he didn't put the brother away. And I seen towards the end of the first round that Baker landed a pretty good shot. Looked like it buckled the knees of the Cuban. And I said to the guy sitting next to me, I says, you know what? Second round, the Cuban's going to get knocked out. And sure enough, if you guys remember Trevor Berbick when he fought Mike Tyson, that's what it was. He put him down face forward. Guy got up, fell back down, got up again, fell back down, and he was very disappointed that the referee had to stop the fight. So if you guys get a chance to see the co-main event, you got this guy, Chris Baker, that looked like he has no power, but he got a tremendous knockout record. He's undefeated light heavyweight, and he may go pretty far. He beat a Cuban who had to defect from Cuba to make some money here in this country.
Right, left.
Left-right combination. Yes, it
Did
was.
you interview him?
You set him up.
Pardon me?
Did you interview him?
Yeah, yes, I did.
I can't wait to read your article.
Yeah, I did get a chance to interview him. Yeah.
Should we look for that article?
You sure can. It should be in the newsstands tomorrow. But I'll get you a free
Okay.
copy.
No, that's all right. I'll read it online.
If I may interject super quick before we go to Chip's Trivia, I'm very disgruntled that Smoking Jim didn't get my distinguished colleague Olivina talk.
I won the bet.
Into
I won the
Carnival
bet.
because when the rules were reversed and the new Pittsburgh Courier didn't even know who Jim Frazier was, it was me and Levine that shared with Smoking Jim, and then these two rushed down and sit next to the ring during the last Tyson fight, and me and my brother sit where Smoking Jim should have sat. But hey, that's a story for
As a
another
little
day.
sidebar, who does your brother work for? And you were under surveillance the whole time, my friend, because you just made national TV with NASCAR, and when you're in the media, you're not supposed to be cheering. So you're on more than my triple secret probation. And as far as Smoking Jim, he's a mercenary. When I can help him, I can. He appreciates it, but he can't get me on a black newspaper media thing without getting in trouble.
I'm all about tearing down barriers.
Well, we have to at least bring this stuff out because I don't want any hard feelings. Because what are you going to do about it? I can't work for the Courier. I can write
I was
something
at the
for
Daytona
him.
500 and I would have took care of it. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm back.
and that's why we agree to disagree, Chip. That's what I started on this show a few years ago with different things.
Yep.
We're never.
We've seldomly seen eye to eye.
We can't.
More so lately. More so lately.
And that's what we started. So we've done that, and I'm glad that Zach brought that up because I won the bet. Smoking Jim, I bet him whatever he wanted to bet. He goes, I'm not taking that bet because I don't put heavy money. So I won in spirit. And I'm glad the air is clear. Let's do some trivia time. It's Chip's Trivia Time.
Well, thank you, Alan. And, this month we're wrapping up the last week of Black History Month, and in respect to Black History Month, I've most of my trivia for the month of February has revolved around the Negro Leagues. And I think the Negro Leagues are a very, very important part of baseball history, and I really honestly believe that, you know, the Major League Baseball didn't become the elite baseball league that it is now until, you know, the color barriers were broken down. You know, because I think as many great athletes played in the Negro Leagues, and I'm finding this out, and you know, ironic thing is two of the biggest powerhouses in the Negro Leagues were the Pittsburgh Crawfords and the Homestead Grays. And most of the articles that I read regarding those teams were from the Pittsburgh Courier. It's been around a long time reporting on the activities. But to kind of wrap it up, you know, I've talked about a number of different players that, you know, made the Hall of Fame and all. But, you know, the color barrier in baseball was broken in 1947. It was, and everybody knows that Jackie Robinson was the first African-American ball player to play Branch Rickey in the Brooklyn Dodgers. Brought him up on April the 15th, 1947. So in the National League, he was the first black player to break the color barrier. In the American League, in the same year, on July 5th of 1947, Larry Doby was the first African-American to play for the American League for the Cleveland Indians. Both those players are in the Hall of Fame. The first, and I'm going to go through all of the players that broke the color barrier, and there's less of them than you would think, because back in those days there weren't 30 Major League Baseball teams. There were far fewer teams. A gentleman named Hank Thompson was the first for the St. Louis Browns on July 17th, 1947. A gentleman who made it to the Hall of Fame and was a mentor to Willie Mays. Monty Irvin was the first African-American for the New York Giants on July the 8th, 1949. Then Hank Thompson comes back into the equation because on the same day, he made his debut for the New York Giants in the National League as well. So, you know, two guys on the same day for the New York Giants. Next was a gentleman named Sam Jethro, who broke the color barrier for the Boston Braves, and that was on April the 18th, 1950. This is a name that some people, baseball historians, would know. Minnie Minoso broke the barrier for the Chicago White Sox, May 1st, 1951. Bob Trice for the Philadelphia Athletics on 9/13/53. Followed by a Hall of Famer who just recently passed, Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub.
Let's
made
play
his
two.
National League.
Let's play two.
Yep, his famous quote, you know, it's a great day to play baseball. Why not play two? He came up on September the 17th, 1953. In April 13th of 1954, the Pittsburgh Pirates broke the color barrier with a gentleman named Kurt Roberts.
Who?
Now,
You better go to your paper's archives.
There's also an asterisk on
Read.
this, because there was also another player of color that played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he played on September the 22nd, 1953. His name was Carlos Bernier, but he was Puerto Rican, but he was also an African-American. Wrapping this up, Tom Alston, first for the St. Louis Cardinals, April 13th, 1954. Nino Escalera and Chuck Harmon for the Cincinnati Reds on April 17th, 54. Carlos Pala for the Washington Senators. And September 6, 1954, September 6 being my birthday, Elston Howard for the New York Yankees. On April 14th, 1955, John Kennedy for the Philadelphia Phillies. April 22nd, 1957, Ozzie Virgil Sr., and some people may recognize that because his son played in the major leagues, was the first for the Detroit Tigers, 1959. The Boston Red Sox had Pumpsy Green on July 21st, 1959. But those are all the players that actually broke the color barrier for each of the major league teams at that time. And I just think we would...
What's the last date
give
on those?
1959.
So it took 12 years to do that.
For all of the teams to finally...
I'm sensing some collusion before we had, you know, Kurt Flood open up the floodgates.
But these are the gentlemen that paved the ways for the stars that we know in the Hall of Fame. And as much as I argue with people about his worthiness. Barry Bonds, all the way down to Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson was the first African-American man to manage a Major League Baseball team.
Is that right?
And Frank Robinson had a Hall of Fame career with the Cincinnati Reds and the Baltimore Orioles.
Hey, Chip, I got a little piece of trivia on
Sure.
Ernie Banks.
Sure.
Ernie Banks was actually the first African American to be a manager. He was the assistant manager on the team, and the other manager got thrown out, and he ended up managing the team.
I stand corrected.
How about that? But he wasn't an official manager to do it on it like Frank Robinson, not to
Everybody
diminish
got a
him.
little African American trivia.
Well,
Where's yours, Lil Z?
well,
I
here's
started
why.
the show, Bethune-Cookman. It don't get no more African American than
Well,
that in Daytona.
hey, Smoking Jim, on a serious point, how many people do you know that have
That's-
books in their own library that
that's
have given
amazing.
it to somebody like
Yeah.
yourself?
That's amazing.
So if you read, it's amazing what you can learn out there. And Chip can read.
I got a book on the Tuskegee
Oh,
Airmen
one-
on my
one
shelf.
Okay, good.
One last thing on my trivia.
Go ahead.
Today would have been the 141st birthday of one of the pirate greats, Honus Wagner. Happy birthday in the memory of Honus Wagner.
And I just want to follow up on the new Pittsburgh Courier. You know, since
Why
we're
don't-
still talking about breaking down barriers. I want to break down that barrier. I want to be the
Is this
first,
Z time?
I want to be the first guy to be on the new Pittsburgh Courier like myself with a beard.
You're too late. Tom Liturgy's already written articles for them.
Well, I tell you
Tom
what.
beat me to it.
I
Yeah.
tell you what.
I just wanted to scoop you on that.
Well, I think Lil Z can do at least be the second because.
No, there's been many others.
Because Still Valley had some ineligible players, so Lil Z could come in there and be an ineligible Pittsburgh Courier.
But in my defense, it was a Shafino in charge.
Hold it. Are we doing Z time? Because I'm confused.
No,
I'm
yeah.
sure Still Valley
Okay,
thought they was
well, we better shut the Sandbox
Okay.
boys down.
Okay.
Still Valley thought they was hiring a white coach until Shafino walked in the door.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to get into that because we got friends, family.
season.
We got 2 degrees of separation in Pittsburgh. You just crossed the line on both degrees. So, Smoking Jim. And we're going to have to put you on probation or something.
Can I tell a quick Dan Rooney 30-second story?
I don't know why, but go ahead.
Dan Rooney is a
How
guy.
long ago was this?
This is probably 30-some years ago. Dan
Okay.
Rooney tells me.
Nah,
the
you're
story.
going back. All right.
There's a guy that's in voice and data communications. Matter of fact, he's in charge at Heinz Field, and he's been trying to get in for years, and couldn't get in Three Rivers, and finally, Dan Rooney sees his name on. I mean, he would come in every week. Hey, is there opening? No, get out of here. And so Dan Rooney sees his name on the list and says, hey, when he comes in, send him right up,
Yeah.
And so he comes in, and the guard looks at him and says, hey, Dan Rooney wants to see you. He's like, oh, man, I'm excited. Maybe I can get an interview, He says, no, sounds like you got the job. He says, wow. He goes up, knocks on Dan Rooney's door. Come on in. Who are you? I'm Max McGee. Dan Rooney thought it was Max McGee from the Green Bay Packers.
Nah.
Here's a little short black guy. And they hired him. He's been working ever since. So he's ended up getting an interview with Dan Rooney because he thought he was the Max McGee.
That's one of
Max
your-
McGee was the hero of the first Super Bowl.
Yeah, yes,
correct?
sir, that one.
The Ice Bowl.
Not the Ice Bowl.
Little extra
No,
fiction and
the-
fact
the
here.
Packers.
Oh, okay,
The
I
Packers
stand
played
corrected.
the Chiefs in the
Right.
first
It was
Super Bowl.
quite.
Right.
It was quite
Right.
timely. I don't know about if it was on time or if it was late, but it was timely.
Well, speaking of on
Z
time,
time.
I got late breaking news. The Lady Hawks, the Bethel Lady Hawks,
No.
just won
All right.
52-39. Matt No Show Harkins is trying to get back in my good graces. He's almost there, but he may be no show forever. So we'll see.
Another-
Did I
Who
come
knows?
through strong with the superstar sophomore?
Yes.
On that lady.
He did
Bethel team
call that.
last
So
night.
congratulations to Bethel Park. They beat Penn Hills.
Oh! There go my
He
article.
would say Gateway.
Yeah.
No, he's excited that the Penn Hills went down. in
I
flames.
needed Penn Hills to make it because our.
Oh, they lost. Hold on.
Wow, that's a good game. I didn't know. That
What the heck? I
This is
just.
the best. That is
Hills-
the best.
Penn
They
Hills
lost
beat
50.
That is
They
the
got
best.
crushed. I stand
yeah, 'cause
corrected.
Penn Hills is loaded this year. I was
Oh, man,
surprised.
this is
I
the
got
best.
thrown off because Smoking Jim went back in time 30 years.
That's the best.
So Penn Hills
I stand
beat Bethel.
corrected. No more no-show from Matt Harkins.
Wow.
Wow.
Sorry to hear that.
Penn Hills
On that
is in the
sad note,
championship.
Z-Time.
Well, not that it's a sad note. Tiger Conger got a Mario on his shirt. But what's on my mind
What does
tonight,
that have
folks?
to do with anything in the
Just
world?
to get Smoking Jim laughing, because that's all you gotta do. What's on my mind on Z-Time tonight, folks, is I got to travel down to Daytona Beach, Florida. It's a 13-hour drive. 5 of it spent in the great state of West Virginia, Johnny Denver. But with coming out of West Virginia, I hit a blizzard and a snowstorm, and it was just a real brutal trek getting down there. Did pulled over going 87 and the 70 in the great state of Georgia. Got let go, released on my own recognizance, made it to Daytona on time.
How did they
For the
ever
race.
release you?
But what happened down in Daytona still is still upsetting me. Even 13 hours later on the drive back yesterday, I was on Fox Sports 1 before the race, trying to get on the broadcast, and I pulled that off. But during the race, it's something that troubled me even more. Teammates, number 48 and 88, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's car was nowhere near as fast as Dale Jr.'s was, with about 19, 20 laps to go. And rather than just let Dale Jr. get out in front, Jimmy Johnson, applied the blocked him high, blocked him low, just prevented him from advancing. Caution comes out. During that restart, Dale Jr. goes in the middle. It was 3 wide. He gets in the middle and gets shuffled all the way back, probably back to 19th, as me and Chip were talking about before the show. Now to the last restart, not enough time to go. There's about 3 laps to go. Kevin Harvick, the defending series champion, and Dale Jr. get hooked up, but didn't have enough time to track down Joey Logano. And the race ends with caution as Jeff Gordon in his last Daytona 500 gets spun out and wrecked. But the reason why that I believe the race ended in caution was that accident happened in a part of the track where if those guys would have kept going and came around not under caution, there was the potential for collisions and impact and even more. So that's why the race ended in caution. But it was a great trip. I got to give a shout out to my girl Janet. She got to meet her idol Kevin Harvick on Saturday night after the Busch race, which is the minor leagues of NASCAR, Smoking Jim. One of the big stories was, as Al Levine alluded to, the domestic violence charge issued against Kurt Busch, driver, the number 41. Haas Automation Chevy. Well, even if Kurt Busch would have won his appeals, it was highly unlikely he was going to drive because manufacturer Chevrolet pulled out all support with Kurt Busch. So even if he won his appeals, he still wasn't going to drive in the Daytona 500. If you go on Pittsburgh Sportsline, also, I took pictures of the safer barrier that is in place at Daytona. And the reason I allude to that is because on Saturday night, Kurt Busch's little brother, Kyle, hit the wall where there wasn't a safer barrier and broke bones in both of his feet. And there's no timetable on when he's going to return back to competition. He drives the M&M's Toyota, for
I like
anybody
that car.
doesn't pay attention to, if you just pay, the sponsors,
M&Ms.
you can relate. So he got the M&M's Toyota. And but Ford's dominated Speed Weeks. As I put on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Saturday, it looked like the high line was the predominant line, but everything was going except the middle. Dale Jr. ended up making a charge late, finished 3rd. Harvick 2nd. Joey Logano, like I said, 1, and I wasn't happy at all with Jimmy Johnson, like I said, in the 48. He's probably one of the most selfish teammates in the sport, and especially when it comes to Dale Jr. He got some kind of axe to grind because, he's an Earnhardt, and, that's just a legacy in itself. But, that's Z-Time. I also want to, I just want to interject real quick that Rusty Hardin, the attorney for Kurt Busch, also represents the likes of Adrian Peterson, Roger Clemens. So if
I didn't
if
wanna
that
bring
sets the
anything.
precedent,
Yeah.
then it's probably Kurt Busch is probably guilty.
Okay,
No doubt.
and to speak to what you were talking about in Z time, was the fact that the wall that Kyle Busch wrecked into did not have the safer barriers on, and then last year another big name, and I can't recall who it is, hit that exact same wall, probably about 100 feet down from where Kyle Busch hit it last year, and they said that they were going to do something about that then, and they hadn't. And I think NASCAR's got some responsibility here, and there's some questions that need to be answered about the safety of the drivers, because if you knew this was a problem and you didn't do anything about it,
Yes, Smoking Jim.
What did Bush do?
Which one?
Kurt Busch is accused of a domestic battery. I was at the race last year at Dover, Delaware in the fall, and subsequently after the race, I guess he had an altercation back at his hauler, the trailer, with his then girlfriend or whatever. And
Of 4 years.
supposedly, allegedly, he was choking her and banging her head off the side of the trailer.
In front of her son, her young son.
allegedly, because
No,
it's allegedly Levine, and because right now it's only, if you know about the CBAs, though, it's only civilly. It's civilly right now. He hasn't actually been criminally charged with an offense.
No, the CBA's clear on it. The judge was clear on it. That her statement was more truthful than his.
And a civil judgment is a preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt.
So you're guilty.
I don't think so. He hasn't been charged criminally yet, so he's not going to.
Exactly. We haven't heard the last of it. That's all I've got to say.
Here's the thing. There might be 3 strikes in baseball, but I'm not sure how many strikes with domestic violence in this day and age. So.
No, I think the world is changing as far as that's going, and it should have never gone ignored this long. But they're trying to make up for all the ills of the past. But,
It's hard
like
to do
I said, if we're going to point light on it, there are women that put their hands on men every day. So you know what? I'm not going to put more light on one thing than the other. No, both sides are wrong. It's not right to put your hands on anybody in a manner that isn't, that you wouldn't want hands put on you. And that's just my feeling on
I
it.
couldn't agree with you more. That's why I state every time, in spite of you, it seems like you're trying to defend Bush a little here, which is offensive to me. I'm against all violence. Men against men against women, children, dogs, and animals. And this woman, they never even said that she struck him at all.
We'll never know.
That was never a statement.
You know what we know in Ray Rice's case? Because it was on tape. And we know beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt, because you could watch it and rewind it over and over again in this day and age. There's
I'd
no
rather not
witnesses.
talk anymore.
There's no witnesses to this.
This case is settled
Delaware.
for now, civilly. So, I mean, he's actually guilty.
But without being criminally charged.
The criminally charged
what happened to
stuff.
Ben Roethlisberger? Same thing. He'll never get another endorsement contract the rest of his life. That's the
That's
price.
not true. He got Big Ben's beef
Consequences for your
jerky.
act- that's
Yeah,
the
because he has to
consequences for
buy
your
it and do it.
actions.
He has to slap his label on like BC on everything.
Hey, if you don't mind if I take the conversation in a different direction?
Oh, you could try.
Okay.
It may go
Well,
back.
there was an example here last week in a high school playoff game that I found kind of disturbing. How, I don't know 100% of all the facts that go along with this, but the coach of the team refused to coach the team in a playoff game.
Oh, no.
Wait, no, I'm not going to get any further. The part of that disturbs me is here's a coach that just completely abandoned his whole team because he had a disagreement with the athletic director. And the
But
way
the
things
team
were
was
handled.
behind him, though.
No, wait. The other thing that I find even more disturbing is last night in a high school basketball game in Smyrna, Tennessee, okay? Two girls' high school basketball teams were battling in a game where the winner of the game would have played the number 1 team in the state, and the loser of the game would have gone into the other bracket, and they would not have had to face the number 1 team unless they advanced all the way to the championship game.
Right.
Both of these teams, at the urging of their coaches, were playing to lose the game. Girls were going up and missing free throws, bouncing them off the backboard. They were taking
Shooting
the
at the
ball
other hoop.
over and back. They were trying to shoot.
At the other hoop.
How people like this can ever be allowed to coach another game and influence the lives of young athletes, I'd find that impossible to
Well,
believe
what
that somebody
happened to
could
them?
let them.
They're under probation. They're suspended. The school's under probation for a couple years.
But
They
you know
won't be in
what?
any
But
playoffs.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. The coaches I hold totally responsible for that. The players and what happened in those games in Tennessee, I think, are equally as culpable
And you
because
know-
they were the ones that were out there taking the ball over and back and causing.
And you
an
know where they
immediate
should
return.
go? I was flipping through late night on Sunday night. There's a TV show with Ray Lewis, where Ray Lewis apparently is scolding and scaring coaches. It's called Bad Coach.
Really?
It's called Bad Coach. It's
Is
on
it a
Spike
reality
TV.
show?
It's a reality TV show. He brought in some huge guys, they were huge, into this dark, like, desolate room with these 5 coaches or whatever. The one yells at his son all the time. So the guy's in his face like, "You like being yelled at?" And like, it's just,
Really?
yeah, it's something to check out. And then Ray Lewis
Does it
comes.
cure them?
I mean, they kind of like. I mean, they don't have a choice but to cop out. I mean, you would be intimidated too. But I
By
guess
who?
these guys are professional, and their job is to intimidate people, you know, and to get them to see that it's not right to, you know. So
When
but
you going on the show?
back to
When are
to
you
the
going
Still
on the
Valley,
show?
to the
Yeah.
Still
When
Valley
are you
tragedy. Chip, well, I guess there's some local politics involved in it, but as far as
I understand.
abandoning your team, you got 100% right point on that. But on the backside of it, I guess the coach had the full support of the team. This kid was rolled ineligible an hour before tip-off, where he shouldn't have played probably for the whole season.
What was his QPA?
Well, you know
His
the
grade
thing.
point average was like 1.6, 1.8 or
But
something.
here's the thing that I found that this is a 5th-year senior in high school. I didn't think you got 5 years in high school. I mean, you're supposed to be out of high school in 4 years. Most people finish it in 3.5.
Well,
so
Still
what's he
Valley-
doing playing basketball in high school?
Still Valley been using ineligible players for years. They just
They're the
happen, they just happen to get caught this time, man.
Jim was just waiting on that one. He was drooling over that like he would a steak.
My man Smoking Jim's hands are not clean because of his neighborhood. It might be God's country, but there's a lot of things that come out there in sports. I'd rather not discuss that tonight. We've discussed it off air. There are a lot of things, but like I always go with my theme, and you guys have heard it so many times. They want to cheat, but when they get caught, they're not the only ones cheating. They try to say that everybody else is. So-
Jerry Rice did the same thing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's amazing how when they get caught, they're not the only ones. But before that, the other teams are.
Touching back to a little segue to get away from Still Valley right now as far as I
Okay.
can.
You seem
Quick-
like you're on a slippery
quick-
slope right now.
Yeah, I'm on a huge slippery
Yeah.
slope. I totally agree with Smoking Jim Fraser's earlier
On
point
what
about
point?
Roger Goodell monkeying with the
With
draft.
2 O's.
But to also make a point, though, and you must admit this too, though, the old format about 5 or 6 years ago, I mean, it was monotonous. I mean, it was a long grind. I'm sure the TV ratings were great for the first 2 rounds or whatever, but no, I don't know very many people besides from yourself and Kevin Colbert that are watching all 7 rounds, sitting there watching all 7 rounds. I mean, Chris Berman and Mel Kiper will make you want to, take the bridge after about 4 rounds.
Used to be 12 rounds
Yeah.
not too long ago.
Well, the thing that
Point.
kills me is with the draft is that they just spent the last 3 or 4 days this weekend of 24-hour round-the-clock coverage of the NFL Combine. Is there a more useless waste of airtime in the world?
And I was
love
talking
it.
about
The
the
ratings
coverage of
get ratings get high ratings, man. I love it.
You know
I
why?
hope you're watching
He
and
is.
scouting these guys because you're probably high on the guy from the defensive back from Connecticut, the former guy with the long jump, the huge jump like that matters or anything.
Well,
Because
like
you
that.
need that in football.
Well, with me, and
Frog.
me and Al Levine and Chip talked about it for years, is that I believe in watching game film first and foremost. Film don't lie, but this other stuff is extra. Your boy suckered he changed
Which
the
one?
mind of everybody. The thief down there in Florida State.
Jameis.
Jameis.
Everybody loves him now. He got the personality. He rallied the troops. He looked like he's the #1 pick. And
Isn't it about
His
the
arm,
money?
man.
but
He's
I
a
heard his
strong man.
arms. I heard his
Yeah.
arms a question, and then during an interview, I heard him say that hey, I play baseball too or whatever. So how's my arms? My arm is what it's supposed to be, I guess. But
Yeah, this is the first year he hadn't played baseball. He's a relief pitcher, and he has a different release, delivery. So
We'll try to bring you up.
But
to
it's-
speed.
But with
Yeah,
Jameis Winston, even the general manager of the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have the first pick in the draft, he still questions his off the field antics. I mean, he made every throw that they asked him to make on Saturday. The day before, they talked about his weakness and his shoulder strength. But I mean, he made every throw that they asked him to make.
Who do you draft, Marcus Mariota or Winston as the first quarterback? Who do you take down the list?
Mariota. Even if he's 4.52 in the 40,
I would probably
don't care.
lean towards Mariota.
Is that what he ran? That's
Yeah.
fast.
Who
Yeah,
you
I
got,
know.
Smoking Jim Scout?
He's got to study film.
If I was taking between those
You
two,
saw a lot because
between
those
those
two are national.
Yeah, I mean,
talent.
you got to. I mean, talent wise, an NFL quarterback ready is Jameis Winston.
More so than Mariota, who
Well, you
played.
can't coach height. You can't coach height. He got height. 2 sports star. It's just how quickly you can get the guy to be mature.
But
No,
isn't it a
that's
question
the
of
big question
situation
there.
too, though? So every situation is different. Like John Elway, Eli Manning, certain guys I'm not going there. I'm not playing there. Like nobody wants to play in Cleveland. That's why they keep changing the color of the uniforms and stuff like that, like to try to drum up confidence. Well, guess what? If you can't evaluate talent, you can't draft and sign players and coach players. It doesn't matter what you change the logo to. That's why it's Brown. It's Dookie Brown, as I say.
Well, somebody that did help their stock out in the draft was Kevin White, the wideout from West Virginia.
Yeah,
He kind of like leapfrogged Amari Cooper, who's everybody said was the number one wide receiver out of Alabama. But if you look at Kevin White's numbers from last year, amazing numbers for a 13-game college football season.
Yeah.
Is
they
it
are.
too early for you to start making your projections for the rounds and the slots where you think players are going to fall?
Well, I
right now?
never do that because what I do is evaluate guys how I would draft them, and some of the guys that's at the top of my list don't go into the 6th round. So, because there's no shortage of stupidity in the National Football League.
What do you
And
mean
that-
by the stupidity, though?
It is because these guys traditionally will draft people who I think would be a bust, but they're 2, 3,
Why are they doing it, though, is my point.
because they couldn't spot a
The
great
talent.
football player if they tripped over them. And most of them don't watch films and don't understand, what they're watching when they break down film. It's not just Goodell who works for the owners. The reason why it's in May. The reason they moved it from February to May is so these scouts can have more and more time because they were
They didn't do
so
their homework.
horrible. They were so horrible in February. You're drafting Bart Starr in the 18th round. I mean, Rocky Blyer in the 22nd round.
I mean, but that's in the
Stone Age.
Yeah, that's in the
Wow,
Stone Age.
wow,
And
they
now
would
we're in the
still
model
do it.
age.
Huh?
We're in the
James,
See,
like
you're
I
still
mentioned,
living
but you know
back
what?
then.
well, like
Before
I
you-
mentioned last night, I said James Harrison led the nation in sacks as a senior, including 5 sacks against Big Ben, and did
From
not
Kent
get
State.
and did
Kent
not
State.
get drafted.
And I mean, that's a travesty in itself.
And
But
that's
the story
recent.
goes on to be a great story, and they might be able to make a movie about it. And James Harrison, he got Fist of Fury 2 one night or whatever, so let's not forget about that. But I just hope that Smoking Jim and Kevin Colbert and the whole scouting department of the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing their due diligence and hopefully. What draft slot are we drafting in this year, Smoking Jim?
22nd.
22nd.
We're drafting in the 22nd spot. I mean, it's
My
not
favorite number.
it's not the ideal spot.
That
but
supposedly was his football uniform.
Yeah, that's my
Number.
favorite number.
Yeah.
I
22.
if I'm not mistaken,
We're
I
trying to
believe,
research
I
that
believe
right
we
now.
got Troy Polamalu several years ago in a similar spot, 18,
16th.
20, somewhere.
We traded up
moved
to get
Yeah,
to
we
Troy.
were close, and
We traded up to
so
get to Troy.
I'm not saying that we're going to get somebody of that kind of impact.
Well, you know who
but
the 22nd pick of last year's draft was, huh? Johnny Rehab.
Football. When he was football.
ooh, Johnny Betty Ford.
We will see.
He drives a Ford.
Well, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers have 3. I think a lot of times you got to draft to your strength. Offense is their strength. But if you're looking at defense, I think this is a special year, probably the best year since '81 for edge rush pass rushers.
Really?
And the Pittsburgh Steelers basically have 3 linebacker coaches. You got Keith Butler, who was a lifetime linebacker coach at 59 years old, and he understands linebackers. Joey Porter was a freak of a linebacker, so
Jerry O.
you get him a guy that can really rush the quarterback. He can keep him hyped. And then you got Jerry O. Jerry O wasn't big, he wasn't strong, he wasn't fast.
He was a great inside linebacker.
One of the most productive linebackers Pitt ever had, and was productive in the National Football League and understands how to play the position. So the Pittsburgh Steelers basically the only team in football history with 3 linebacker coaches.
Well, right now,
just out of Aliquippa, they got about
right
100
now
coaches.
the Steelers have 3 more linebacker coaches. Well, actually, 2 more linebacker coaches than they have outside linebackers.
Yes.
I mean, the only one they've got under contract right now is Jarvis.
I got a
Lowe.
call from Louisiana coming in. Who's this calling from
Brett
Louisiana?
Favre.
Somebody watching
Brett
us from
Favre.
Louisiana.
I don't know how they're watching
To
us. They
not
might
to
have stole the
not
feed.
to drain all the momentum on the Pittsburgh Steelers woes.
Go ahead.
But those Penguins are battling back. I know Chip's chomping at the bit to talk about those fresh arms down in Bradenton, but the Penguins are catching fire right now at the right time during the trade deadline. So I'm curious to see if Rutherford's going to make a move and bring anybody in and shake it up.
He wants to make a move.
He wants to make a move, and some very curious things are going on because, well, most of this stuff is brought on by the media, but there was talks about possibly bringing Jordan Stahl back to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I like that.
Yeah, we would like that, but I don't believe the Penguins have the cap room to be able to do
They
that.
do not.
Can we
And,
rent 'em?
and it's funny because Kevin, or what's his name,
Rutherford?
Rod Francis, the GM now down in Carolina, who works for Jim Rutherford,
Right.
said that there's no way that they're going to trade Jordan Stahl. Well,
That
a
means
lot of
they'll
people,
trade him.
a lot of people were saying that what the Penguins need to do is need to trade Paul Martin, and to get something back from him. And I really don't think that that's it. So Jim Rutherford now says that there's no chance that he's going to trade Paul Martin. You know what? Watch what happens here in the next couple of weeks.
There's
Monday
no
is
doubt.
the trade deadline. that something's going to happen. And the Penguins played well in the last 2 games. Before that, they were playing horribly. They couldn't score. The power play was abysmal. They scored, believe it or not, the Penguins' power play has scored 1 goal in the month of February. That isn't getting it done and never
It's
will.
a short
in
month
the
and it's
NHL.
short scoring for him.
No,
But
no.
look for Paul Martin to be gone. You're not going to get a higher value for him now. He's old. He got a big contract. It's going to happen. Other people need him in the playoffs.
And right now he's the
And
best
look at Jordan
defenseman.
Stahl coming here when they adjust salaries. They can adjust some of the salaries for a cap.
But right
So-
now we just don't have the move to do it. And here's the reason why Jordan Stahl wanted to leave Pittsburgh. He was tired of playing third fiddle to Crosby and Malkin.
Well, he's still going to be third fiddle.
Now he's going to get bumped to the 4th line, or Sutter's going to get bumped to the 4th line.
Sutter will
he's
get
still
bumped.
going to be playing second or third fiddle to
Yeah,
Sid
but
Crosby
here's
and
the
Evgeny
thing.
Malkin.
When you're young and you've already done stuff and got a cup, makes a whole different story. So he thought he could do it down there. He couldn't. He was with his brother.
Couldn't do it.
Didn't work
His
out.
brother will be a free agent at the end of the
Exactly.
season.
So if he's not going to be there,
We'll get
he's
some
gotta
spring
go.
training updates next
Well,
Tuesday.
This is it, folks. Z, welcome back. Thanks for starting it up. Smoking Jim, thanks for coming clean on something that I want to bet on. We like that. Chip, thanks for being Chip Hayner. And I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Check out these places that we're publicizing, from the pizza to the Ginchi store, and keep watching us. We appreciate it. Monday, we don't have a show since we're out of Atria's. We had a place that we were going to, and they had a little water main break. Zach wasn't in town.
Figures.
So that's it.
Couldn't
Be
save it.
safe out there. It's going to be cold, but be safe. Take care.